What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host. He's back, Alex Wilson. We are here. The NFL Draft Night 1 has concluded. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in to the live stream watch-along party last night. We had an absolute blast, and man, was it exciting to react to not one, but two first-round draft picks for the New York Giants. Number 3 overall, Abdul Carter. Number 25 overall, the trade up for Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, who we have been talking about for a long time on this channel. We just double-checked our first video on him, January 5th or something crazy like that. At the start of the new year, we were already on the Jackson Dart hype train. You guys know we really like Jackson Dart. We've been talking about him a lot. We're super excited to have him with Big Blue. Can't wait to see this bright young man's future with the Giants, and also Abdul Carter, man. Could we ask for anything better? The Giants got a lot better in 2025, and now they have a plan for 2026 and beyond. So, as the title of this video says, the New York Giants now have an identity and a plan, and we're going to talk about that and react to it. But, Alex, we're going to just throw it right over to you. You weren't able to make the live stream. What was your reaction to last night's NFL draft, and how excited are you by the Giants' first-round draft haul?
Oh, my goodness, guys. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make the live stream, but I'm happy to react to the haul now. Anthony, the entire process, we said two things. The Giants either had to draft a quarterback or they had to go BPA and try to win now. What we didn't think was maybe they could do both in the first round, and they did exactly that. Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll went, we have to save our asses. How do we accomplish that? We have to draft a quarterback. Jackson Dart trading up to 25. Now, I did the math. I looked at the draft value chart. Obviously, that doesn't include a lot of context, but they gave away what's worth basically the 21st overall pick in the draft just based on draft value alone. The 34th overall pick, this year's 99th overall pick, and next year, third round pick, even if it's an average selection, it equates to about the 21st overall pick. So they essentially gave away a cumulative draft capital worth a first round pick to get Jackson Dart. And the truth is they had to. And I know a lot of people will say, well, how about Shedeur Sanders? And I know a lot of people said I was a hater this entire process, but I will say this. A lot of teams seem to be hating right about now. And it was never about not liking Shedeur Sanders, the guy. It was about not liking his film that much for me. I didn't really love him as a player. And I didn't really see the upside, in terms of just astronomical upside. And I think a lot of teams are probably thinking the same thing right about now. So, that was interesting. I didn't think he'd go that far down. I thought he'd be like a 15 range kind of guy, but now he's in the second round. So crazy turn of events there. But Jackson Dart, I want to talk about him in a second. I first want to react to Abdul Carter, guys. You said it in the title, Anthony. What's the word I've been using for the last couple of weeks? Identity. The Giants have built themselves an identity reminiscent of their Super Bowl days. The defensive line, remember OC, remember JPP, remember Justin Tuck, Kiwanuka? Those guys built an identity in the trenches. They dismantled one of the best football teams we've ever seen. In the biggest moment of all, the Giants now have talent like that on the defensive front. Brian Burns, he's an elite pass rusher. Kayvon Thibodeau, he can still get there. I still think there's a lot of juice left in the tank there. And then when you look at Abdul Carter, my God, I've never seen reaction timing like this guy has. He is a heat-seeking missile. He can play every single linebacker spot you can ask him. He can do every single alignment over the center, on the edge, everything. The guy has a ghost move that he disappears. Tackles can't catch up to him. My goodness, if he reaches his potential, the Giants have a perennial all-pro pass rusher on their hands, and it's going to be dangerous. You put him next to another perennial all-pro defensive tackle like Dexter Lawrence, the havoc. The only thing that I'm actually scared of, Anthony, is that Shane Bowen doesn't know how to use these guys. That's my biggest fear, that Shane Bowen isn't capable of maximizing this level of talent on defense. But hopefully he can figure it out, because you literally cannot fail with this much talent. You cannot fail with this much upside. Hopefully Bowen can put together a scheme. I mean, to be quite honest with you, Wink Martindale would have had a pretty fun time with these guys. That's kind of, you don't think so?
Hell no.
Wink Martindale
has had one pass rusher ever go for double-digit sacks, and that was Kayvon Thibodeau in 2023. Fair. That would have been a nightmare to me, as if Wink Martindale was given the keys to coach Abdul Carter in this defensive line. Listen, Shane Bowen didn't do a good job last year. Not crazy about him. He has a lot more to prove. But when he was with the Tennessee Titans, I know that Mike Vrabel was there and he had a lot to do with that defense, but Shane Bowen did have some really good defensive units with the Titans when he was their DC, and they got a lot of sacks in those seasons that Shane Bowen was there. I know that we don't have the utmost confidence in Bowen, but I don't really want to take away from the Carter pick by shedding doubt on Shane Bowen, because I feel as though this defensive line is idiot-proof. it shouldn't take a mastermind to figure out how to get these guys to perform at a high level and make some plays, man. Abdul Carter is an absolute stud. Wherever you line him up on the defensive line, he's going to get after the quarterback and be disruptive. He can be a game wrecker from any alignment. Same can be said about Dexter Lawrence. Same can be said about Brian Burns. And hopefully the added talent around Kayvon Thibodeau allows him to finally flourish, thrive, and become the star that we knew that he could be. So I don't really have those concerns. I get it. Bowen has a lot to prove, and now he's got all of the tools to prove himself. They even added a safety. They added a cornerback in free agency, of course. This defense has a ton of talent, particularly in the front seven. I mean, seriously, Alex, if you want to make up for some lack of talent in the secondary, the best way to do that, stack that defensive line, get after the quarterback, force the ball out of the quarterback's hands sooner rather than later. That makes life easier for a defensive backfield that does have a somewhat lack of talent. So Abdul Carter, and another thing that I want to say about Carter, Alex, I think people discredit his ability to stop the run. This is a major boost for the New York Giants in both facets of the game. People need to understand that Carter led the nation with 24 tackles for loss. He was a force against the run. This guy shoots gaps. This guy has the physicality to set the edge. Yeah, I know some people do have some concerns. Maybe he's not the biggest edge rusher. Maybe he doesn't have the most weight in the world when it comes to outside linebackers. Doesn't matter. Guy has power, guy has speed, and that shows up and translates not only in his pass rushing skills, but also in his ability to stop the run. This is a major boost for the New York Giants defense against the run and against the pass. And when you are considering the way that these pass rushers are going to rotate on this defensive line, it's the argument that I was making for the last 2 weeks leading up to this draft, Alex. When the Giants had Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan, and Osi Umenyiora, they still ripped the first-round pick on Matthias Kiwanuka. Then when they had Matthias Kiwanuka, they had Justin Tuck, and they had Osi Umenyiora, they still ripped the first-round pick on Jason Pierre-Paul. Having 3 pass rushers is good. Having 4, that's how you build a championship caliber defensive line. Ask the Giants of old and ask the Philadelphia Eagles of current. They had Fletcher Cox and a stacked defensive line. They still took Jalen Carter with the number 9 overall pick. Jalen Carter, one of the most disruptive players in the NFL this past season, particularly in the playoffs. And that defensive line is the reason that the Philadelphia Eagles won that Super Bowl. So when you're looking at NFL championship winning teams, it starts and it ends in the trenches. The best offensive lines and the best defensive lines in football, those are the teams that rise to the top. Those are the teams that hoist Lombardi trophies. The New York Giants have taken another great step forward towards achieving that goal and accomplishing that mission. This is a championship caliber defensive line, in my opinion. Yes, we need to make sure that they're coached right and that they're schemed together properly. Yes, we absolutely need these guys to reach their potential. We've had a problem with development over the last few years for the Giants. We've had guys who do not reach their potential. Abdul Carter, I have zero concerns. This kid's dedicated. He's motivated. He's a football player, and he's ultra talented. Pair him up with these pass rushers that the New York Giants already have. This can be something absolutely special for the New York Giants defensive line. There you go, Alex. There's my hype. Let's go. Let's get hyped about it because I'm super excited. Like you said, identity is back for the New York Giants. A strong pass rush has always been the identity, and that identity is back for Big Blue, baby.
It absolutely is. And the word that I would use to describe Abdul Carter, and it's a word I love when it comes to pass rushers, is violent. He is a violent pass rusher, and I love that about this defensive line. The identity, you could say, okay, the word identity, what is the identity? It's speed, it's aggression, it's violence. That's what you want in defensive presence. You want violence. You want guys who are scared. Quarterbacks who look up and see Dexter Lawrence and see Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Kayvon, and they're like, I'm going to have to get rid of the ball fast. And you want to know what happens when you have to get rid of the ball faster than you really want to? Mistakes. And you want to know what mistakes mean? Turnovers. And we know what turnovers mean? More opportunities for the offense to score points. So you're going to see more offensive opportunities because the defense is so good. Guys, you had adding Abdul Carter, Javon Holland, and Paulson Adebo to this defense. The defense is going to be top 15, top 10 in the league. Like, if they reach their potential, if Shane Bowen is completely crap the bed with his scheme, this is going to be a top 10 defense. And what does a top 10 defense do? It keeps you in games and keeps you competitive, and it allows your much better quarterback, Russell Wilson, more opportunities to score freaking points. So let's transition over here to Jackson Dart, man. Like, Jackson Dart is such an interesting player, right? He's a year younger than Sanders, a year younger than Ward. He's 21. This kid is ultra competitive. And I'm going to read you a tweet right now, Anthony, that I think you'll appreciate, from Jordan Schultz. He said, some more context on why the Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart from multiple sources. The first bullet point: culture builder and competitor, reminiscent of Josh Allen in terms of the guys wanting to play for him. He may be 21 years old, but he leads like he's 35. The next bullet point, elite leadership skills. Dart was a key cog helping Lane Kiffin recruit the portal at Ole Miss, watching film, making phone calls, texting, organizing dinners. Giants felt even more comfortable with Dart once the helmet came off. Commands a room. Brian Dable quickly realized Dart had the heater in his arsenal. Arm is more than strong enough, comparable to Bo Nix in terms of downfield touch throws. Has to win at everything, not just football. Can be a card game, ping pong, pickleball, basketball, charades, doesn't matter. The dude has to win. You want to know what you love? And you talked about Jay Glazer in the third variable here. Do you love football? This kid loves football, man. This kid dies. He breathes football. And I'll tell you what, that fact alone means he's going to put everything on the line to be a good quarterback for the Giants. He's going to leave it all on the football field. He's going to die trying. And the one thing that, and people will compare him to Daniel Jones, guys, you want to know why Jackson Dart is astronomically different than Daniel Jones? Dart is going to try to make the tough throws. He's going to try to make the throws. Daniel Jones never did. He never tried. He always backed down from a challenge. He always backed down from making a big-time throw. Jackson Dart will try every time, and he will hit them too. And if he gets it down, if he tweaks his fundamentals, he gets right in the NFL, he learns to take those chances with an IQ and not just sporadic, wild attempts with purpose, intent. This kid's going to be really freaking good for us.
Yeah, and I have some great stats. I wanted to jump right in there because I have great stats that pair exactly with what you're just saying. And I'll even say to that point, I think he's very intentional when he's throwing the ball downfield. I don't think that there are a lot of times where Dart was just like, oh, let me just throw it up there and hope that my guy makes a play. I think he's done a very good job on his film over the last 3 years at Ole Miss. One of the things that I'll say over the last 3 years, Alex, a progression. We always talk about that. Does a quarterback reach their ceiling as a junior and then they play the same way as a senior and they don't show that progression? No, Dart got better every single year. Anything that he had as a weakness, he made marginal, at least, improvement year to year in those regards. And that downfield accuracy, it's really, really solid. It's the biggest selling point for Jackson Dart. And I have some great stats here that tie into his ability to face top competition and his ability to throw the ball downfield. Alex, listen closely because you're really going to like this first wave of stats, I think, because this is one I haven't seen enough people talk about. This is from my scouting profile that I wrote on Empire Sports Media back on January 19th. So this was quite a while ago. I've been on the Jackson Dart train for a minute. Shout out to my friend John Thompson, who put me on the Jackson Dart very early in this process, and I did a real deep dive. Here's the stats that I wrote in that scouting profile. I'm going to read it word for word. For one, Dart put up ridiculous numbers in the SEC this season, a conference that breeds top NFL talents. At the start of the 2024 NFL training camp, 30 of the 116 quarterbacks on active rosters played in the SEC. 439 players from SEC schools were on 2024 NFL rosters. The conference features more NFL talent than any other, which is why NFL teams value quarterbacks who succeed in the SEC. 10 SEC quarterbacks made starts in the NFL this past season, which led the league. And as we know, he threw for nearly 4,300 yards with a 70% completion percentage and a 29-6 touchdown interception ratio. But he also led the nation with a 180.7 passer rating and 11.53 air yards per attempt, was the top in the nation this past season. So you're talking about a guy who wants to be aggressive, push the ball downfield, throw it past the sticks. You're talking about Jackson Dart. And here's some more stats on his deep passing accuracy. According to Pro Football Focus, 22.1% of Dart's passes this season came on 20-plus yard attempts. He went 37 of 88, completing 42% of those attempts with a 47.7 adjusted completion rate for 1,517 yards, the most deep passing yards out of any quarterback in the country, with a 17-4 touchdown to interception ratio. PFF credited him with 25 big-time throws, which ranked fifth in the country, and only 6 turnover-worthy throws when throwing the ball 20-plus yards downfield. All the things you said there, all the things that I've been saying since January. This is a quarterback who fits the Brian Dable mold. He's a quick passer. His time to throw, Alex, was 2.77 seconds. You know who that's shorter than? That's quicker release than Jaden Daniels, than Caleb Williams, and J.J. McCarthy. He got the ball out of his hands quicker than all of those guys. So you're talking about a quick decision maker, quick release on his throwing motion, deep downfield passing accuracy, and an aggressive high to low reading of the field mindset, paired with the mobility that Brian Dable requires of his quarterbacks. This is a Brian Dable quarterback. That's the point that I've been trying to make since January. A lot of Giants fans have said, oh, Milroe could fit the mold because he's kind of like Josh Allen this way. Guys, The Josh Allen archetype was staring us in the face the entire time. It was Jackson Dart. I said it on the channel last week, made a short about it. Shout out to you who commented this morning and said this aged like fine wine. It absolutely did, because I said there were 3 hallmarks to a Brian Daboll quarterback: an aggressive downfield passing accuracy approach, mobility, and quick reads. Those 3 things are what make a good Brian Daboll quarterback. Those are the 3 biggest strengths of Jackson Dart. This was an obvious fit for the New York Giants, and I am so happy when you're looking at these stats and you're looking at this prospect. I am so happy that Brian Daboll got his guy. Alex, what are your thoughts on all the stats that I just shared? I know there was a lot of them, and I know that they really are exciting, but man, the more you look at this picture that the Giants have painted for us with Brian Daboll and Jackson Dart, this really does look like a perfect marriage.
Yeah, man, I have to say, credit to Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll for pulling off what could save their jobs and give them a chance to actually develop a quarterback, right? Like that may have been the only way. What we just watched them do, the plan, I mean, aside from missing out on Stafford, aside from, missing out on Rodgers and going to their third option with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, they pulled off what could be a job-saving execution, and I got to give them credit for that. Obviously, they still have to prove it. They still have to win enough games, and that's to be seen. But they did a decent job, in my opinion, putting it all together. Jackson Dart, like you said, I mean, the deep ball is there. He has very solid. I think he's the best athlete of the top 3 quarterbacks, top 4 quarterbacks, aside from Jalen Milroe, probably top 3. Looking at Cam Ward, Shadur, and then obviously Jackson Dart. I do think that he has the best athleticism of those 3 guys specifically. But man, the guy can throw from different arm angles. He can throw outside the numbers. He can hit the deep ball. Like, there's a lot to like about Jackson Dart in so many ways. And he's nothing like Daniel Jones. If anyone's telling you this guy's like Daniel Jones, he's Daniel Jones 2.0, you have not watched the film, in my opinion, and you haven't looked at the stats and you haven't looked at the competition. Jackson Dart, we talked about Sanders and Cam Ward playing against really bad competition, Anthony. Jackson Dart does not have that problem, my friend. He played against the best teams in college football almost every single week, right? He was playing against the best and he was performing against the best. So credit where credit's due. Like, he showed up and played really well against some really good football teams. Did he have some poor games and bad mistakes? Absolutely. Some miscommunications? 100%. But that's why he's not starting on day 1, guys. He's starting on year 2. And that's fine. That's what we want. That's what we wanted. I didn't even want Cam Ward to start immediately. I didn't even want Shadur Sanders. I didn't want either of those 2 guys to start immediately. But they get to give Jackson Dart a whole year. And basically it's a 4-year deal anyway, because they have the 5th-year option. So, they got in the second round, they would have only had 3 years to figure things out. Now they have 4 years, essentially. They have that extra year by trading up into the first round to get him, and they made sure they got him too. But guys, like, now, Anthony, let's discuss what is the benefits of having Jackson Dart sit, right, for a year. What does he gain from this process? And in my opinion, and I'll give you my spiel, and then you can take it. It's going to be short. He gets to learn the verbiage for the offense. He gets to learn the scheme. He gets to learn what plays he likes. He gets to learn and develop chemistry with the playmakers. He gets to learn from a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Russell Wilson. And he gets to learn from a gunslinger like Jameis Winston how to command even more so a locker room in the NFL, how to be this, when things are going poorly, how to show up and make jokes and be competitive and lay it out on the line, but also put on a happy face. Russell Wilson had to take good chances, not just chances, but chances with intent in the NFL, right? Lane Kiffin's offense, we all know this. It was very, very quarterback friendly. And like you said, he did take chances with intent. In the NFL, it's going to be different. He's going to have to get to his third read and take chances with intent. He's going to have to learn how to throw the ball away. He's going to learn how to be more conservative at times when he doesn't need to be aggressive, when to protect the football, when to run. One of his biggest flaws, in my opinion, he takes too many hits. He doesn't go out of bounds in time. He lowers his shoulder, his throwing. So I watched multiple clips of him lowering his right shoulder into tackles. Cannot do that in the NFL. Take the yards, get the hell out of bounds. There are red flags to his game. Now he gets to see. Now he gets to learn. But, what do you think the importance of him sitting for a year? I think it's going to make a world of difference. The player that you see today, guys, the player that you may not have faith in, a year of development behind the scenes, it makes a big, big difference. And that's what I think you should be convincing yourself of right now if you're kind of on the fence.
I think there's a lot to be convinced by with Jackson Dart. And listen, the fact that he gets to sit for an entire year behind two quarterbacks on opposite ends of the spectrum. You're talking about a ball security man in Russell Wilson, has historically always kept the ball clean and has kept the ball out of harm's way. And then you're talking about the biggest gunslinger that the NFL has seen in the last 15 years in Jameis Winston. There are pros and there are cons to both of those playing styles. With one of them, you might say, oh, maybe we could afford to be a little bit more aggressive here. With the other one, you say, okay, maybe we can afford to rein it in a little bit here. But you know what Jackson Dart gets from having those two quarterbacks as his mentor? He gets a lot of learning lessons. He gets to find the perfect balance between those two playing styles and marry them right in the middle. How do I push the ball downfield in certain situations? How do I keep the ball clean in others? Let's figure out the middle ground here with Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, meanwhile being coached by Brian Daboll. This is a perfect situation for quarterback, as I've been saying all along, whether we were talking about Jalen Milroe, Alex, whether we're talking about Jackson Dart. These were quarterback prospects that we knew needed to sit, needed to grow, and needed to develop. They were not ready-made products who were going to go ahead and start from day one in the NFL. But if you give them time, the tools and traits that these guys have could really be maximized in the right situation, and that's how I feel about Jackson Dart to the New York Giants. We are talking about a quarterback who has a strong arm, has mobility, has all of the tools and traits that you need. Does he do anything elite right now? Maybe not. But you know what? You can learn how to grow as a quarterback. And that's what's going to happen here if he does take his time before seeing the starting lineup. Because the biggest knock on Jackson Dart, Alex, that I have is easily his inability to get through progressions. He wasn't asked to do it. Very rarely did Lane Kiffin call plays where there were 3 reads to make. It was 1 read, it was the check down, and it was run, right? That's pretty much how it went for Jackson Dart. And that's no fault of his own. But I view that in a positive light, Alex. Sometimes I like a quarterback who hasn't had that part of his game untapped yet, because I think that makes him a higher potential player and a much more, what do I always say, Alex? Moldable ball of clay. That's what Jackson Dart is to me. All he needs is proper coaching, care, and development. The New York Giants just cannot rush him into the starting lineup. I can't stress that enough, because you know what the truth of it is, Alex? When the Giants drafted Daniel Jones in 2019, he was a 6'5" quarterback with plus mobility and a good arm. You know what the Giants really did wrong? They failed to develop him, because he did have some tools. He did have some traits, but they threw him into the starting lineup in week 3. Why? Why did we rush it? You could have let Eli Manning play out that season, given him his swan song, let him have his farewell tour, and then put Daniel Jones in 2020. But you know what happened? Dave Gettleman felt the pressure. Pat Shurmur felt the pressure. They threw their rookie into the lineup too soon, and it still cost them their jobs. The New York Giants cannot make that mistake again. You've got a good young quarterback, a smart, competitive quarterback with the tools and the traits. Don't rush him in to the lineup. Take your time with his development. Only play him once he's ready. And Alex, if he's never ready and you're ready to pick a quarterback next year, you're picking top 3 again. Jackson Dart took the whole year and never looked ready to go. Okay, we'll have a conversation once again next offseason about a new quarterback, because quarterbacks hold their value. You always draft a quarterback when you have the opportunity, because they hold their value and appreciate in value. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be necessary, because I think the Giants are going to be good enough to get by with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston this season, and then they'll turn it loose to Jackson Dart in 2026 after a full year of learning how to read NFL defenses, how to get from read 1 to 2 to 3, go through your progressions, and keep it conservative when you need to, gunsling when you have to. Just find that perfect marriage. I can't stress this enough. It's a perfect situation. This is the exact kind of quarterback that you want sitting for a year. And if he sits for a year, he could do so much in this year to learn, to grow, and actually be a legitimate franchise quarterback in 2026. I am so excited now. This is an actual future and an actual plan at the quarterback position.
Absolutely. And just to build on top of that, let me add some extra. I love to do this because this is my thing. Let's talk about the financials of what the Giants just did, right? They now have not the number 1 quarterback, not the number 2, overall pick, not the number 3 overall pick. They have the 25th overall pick quarterback on salary as a 25th overall pick. This guy's making nothing for 5 years. Guy's making chump change. Guy's making change from the hobos in New York City on the freaking sidewalk compared to what Cam Ward's making. This dude is going to be a godsend for the Giants cap space. A godsend. Russell Wilson, sayonara. Jameis Winston, stick around as a backup. I don't care. It's fine. Have him as a backup for 2026. But my goodness, Anthony, the benefits of Jackson Dart and his contract at 25th overall compared to 1st overall, holy mother of God. The Giants can go into next offseason with their 1st and 2nd round pick and say, let's go get the best offensive tackle, if best offensive lineman or wide receiver, on the board in the first round and the second round. Position this kid with Malik Neighbors, another right tackle, because Jermaine Illuminor will be leaving, or you can go into free agency and say, hey, we have a rookie receiver on a rookie deal. We have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Our star pass rushers on a rookie deal. And you can spend big ass money on a big ass right tackle. Like that's what you could do if you're the Giants, or you just draft one in the first round, or you just draft one in the second round. You can get a receiver to pair with Neighbors if you want to. The entire world is now the Giants' oyster. If Jackson Dart pans out, this team is going to have a window of like 5 or 6 years to really be, maybe more than that, maybe more like 7 or 8 years to be a really good competitive football team. Jackson Dart, buddy, you love football. You want to win. You want to be great. If you do it in New York, you're going to be one of the most famous people in the country. You know what I mean? You're going to be one of the most loved people in the city. Giants fans are dying for you. Dying. You know what I mean? And just the ability for the Giants to build around this kid. Anthony, give me your take on that. The financial aspect of Jackson Dart's deal and how we still have our first and second round pick next year. I mean, goodness gracious, they're going to be able to position this kid with more an embarrassment of riches, an embarrassment of playmakers. They could have went the next year, like let's say it was this year. They could have got Tyler Warren at tight end if they wanted to. You know what I mean? They could have got Mbao if they wanted to, maybe. They could have gotten a variety of players. They could have gotten, Matthew Golden at receiver. They could have gotten Egbuka at receiver. They could have done so many different things to upgrade this offense around this young kid. How important is that they did not give away their first and second round pick, and the financial efficiency of this contract over the next 5 years?
Yeah, listen, that's why you always try and get the 5th-year option on a quarterback if you can, and a couple other details on that. I think it's really important to know. I did say this in yesterday's live stream. Getting third-round picks, Alex, it's not hard. The Giants can recoup that pick so easily. You trade any veteran, you have a really good chance of getting a third-round pick. So I'm not losing sleep about the fact that the Giants are entering 2026 without a third-round pick. Okay, that's fine.
Might get us a conditional pick.
Exactly. Somebody's going to hit free agency. The Giants will get a third back, or they'll trade somebody. It's so easy to gain a third-round pick. It's not even funny. Like the Giants did this past offseason, getting 99 overall, which helped them get Jackson Dart, which is what I have to say. Like, I love the fact that the Giants use that compensatory pick. I said it as soon as they got it, Alex. I expect this pick to be traded away. I never thought that the Giants were going to be picking number 99 overall. I said they were either going to trade it for a veteran, like a Jair Alexander, somebody who was on the block, or they were going to hold on to it and trade up to get a quarterback in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft. That's exactly what happened. So good call out there. And also, it's just the trend of Joe Schoen. When he gets an extra pick, he doesn't like to make both picks in those rounds. He likes to take one of them and trade them. And that's the trend. And he sticks true to that. And you know what? Credit to Schoen. I think he always gets very good value when making trades. And this is another example of it, because he just traded up for a potential franchise quarterback at the expense of 2 third-round picks. Alex, we were talking about potentially trading 2 third-round picks to get to number 1 overall a couple months ago. Then the price tag ended up being 2 first-round picks. All right, we'll pass on that. Now we get to 2 third-round picks to get an upside quarterback here at number 25 overall. You got to love it. And what you're saying is absolutely true. And it actually harkens back to another conversation that we've had in the past, Alex. What do I call it? The Kansas City Chiefs approach, the Buffalo Bills approach, the Baltimore Ravens approach, so on and so forth. All of these teams that drafted a quarterback, sat them for a while, built a team around them, and then turned them loose, right? When the Chiefs took Patrick Mahomes probably could have played year 1 as a rookie, but would he have struggled? Would it have impeded his development? Would he have made too many mistakes and maybe lost his confidence? All of those were possibilities. What did the Chiefs do? Alex Smith, go for another year. We're already a playoff team with you. Play for another year for us. Mahomes, just wait a season, then take over. And boom, he was the NFL MVP in his second season, his first as a starter. Not saying that that's my expectation for Dart, but I'm saying that's the model. That's the approach that you want to take. Build a good roster for a rookie quarterback so that when they do take over as the starter, you're not throwing them in with the Wolves. You're not treating Bryce Young the way that the Panthers have. You're not doing what the Jaguars did to Trevor Lawrence and basically throwing this kid who can't swim into the deep end. You're building a talent around him. You're giving him a boat to stand on. That's what the Giants are doing. So taking Dart now in a position where they can continue to build this roster around him is going to make him a better player when he eventually does enter the starting lineup, because he's not going to have to be the savior of this team, and he's not going to be fighting for his life all alone on an island. So Very important. As you said, it helps them financially and it helps them from a roster building perspective. But now, Alex, before we do wrap this thing up, we got to turn our attention to day 2 of the NFL draft. As you all know, I'll be live again on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But also, I think it's important to note, with this one day 2 pick that the Giants have now, number 65 overall, got to nail it. And my take here, Alex, you go BPA. I know that we have some needs. I know we got needs in the trenches, interior offensive line, interior defensive line. I get it. Go BPA. Whether that's Trey Harris, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Man, Alex, that would be so cool if the Giants paired up Trey Harris and Jackson Dart. That would be sick. But if it's Alfred Collins or Jack Beck or somebody else or Tate Ratledge, the Giants need to nail this pick. Make sure that they walk out of this round 3 with a good prospect with that number 65 overall pick, the first pick of the 3rd round. Just keep stacking talent. Otherwise, this nucleus that we're talking about, this great environment building for the quarterback, you're kind of going to waste it if you don't start hitting on more of these mid-round draft picks. So I think this number 65 overall pick is crucial for the New York Giants today. Do you have any prospects in mind that you think they should be targeting with that selection?
I mean, you're absolutely right. That it's basically a 2nd round pick, and it's critical the Giants hit on this one. There's a couple players I have in mind. One guy, Anthony, that we both love, Alfred Collins, would love a big run stuffing DT. That would be a great starting level DT, plug and play. Your defensive line is set for 5 years. Like, your defensive line is one of the best in football, and it already is without him, without Alfred Collins. So, like, damn good idea to go get him. He might go a little earlier, seeing how Tyleik Williams went so high. I think he went like in the 20s. Like, that's really early. We thought he'd be there in the 2nd round. Obviously not. Other players I like, Jack Besh out of TCU. I like him a lot. I like him. I like him play inside and out. He's got ridiculous hands. He had 1 drop in 91 targets last year. Really, really like him too. Go ahead.
Jack Beck, not Besh. Senior Bowl MVP. But yeah, that's the only thing I want to add. He was a Senior Bowl.
I saw someone say Besh. I saw someone say call it Besh. So Jack Beck, whatever.
Yeah.
Either
also,
way,
also other note on him, he is a Louisiana native and he has friends with Malik Neighbors.
Even better. I mean, this kid, is he like the most freak athlete ever? No, but he is strong. He is tough as nails. I mean, talk about a guy that loves football. Another one, he's one of those guys, and he does not drop the ball. He has insane hands, really good at the catch point, really good contested catch guy. Like, I really like him. He's just an all-around good football player. I would not hate that decision to draft him at all. Other players, I mean, Judkins obviously is a guy that I think the Giants would consider if he was there in the 3rd. I think he might go earlier than that. Other ones, Xavier Restrepo is an interesting one. He's more of a slot guy, so I think they'd probably go with a Jack Beck over Restrepo just because of the versatility they could use. And you could stash him. Like, Jack Beck doesn't have to be, the thing is the Giants need kind of a WR3. Like, Jalen Hyatt can't be trusted. And talk about 3rd round picks, by the way. Why is it okay trading 3rd round picks? Jalen Hyatt's why it's okay trading 3rd round picks, because the Giants don't hit on him. Cordell Flott and has been basically a ghost. Hyatt's been a ghost. Like, we haven't hit on 3rd round picks. I'm happy to trade a couple of those for a quarterback, and we still have the top one in the draft this year anyway, in terms of the 3rd round pick and the 65th overall. So, Alfred Collins, Jack Beck, Restrepo's interesting. Judkins, a running back, Cam Scatabo. Like, there's plenty of talent to choose from. The Giants are going to walk away naturally. If they go BPA, they're going to walk away with a plug and play starter, and I'm pretty excited about that.
I will run through a goddamn wall if we take Alfred Collins at number 65 overall. I'm going to be ridiculously hyped up if that's the pick. And you know what? A couple of those running backs would make a lot of sense as well with the 65th pick. Super excited for today's draft, day 2. Giants only have 1 pick to make, but like I said, it's a crucial one, and they only have 1 pick to make for now, Alex. They have 2 7th-round picks. They absolutely could take a 4th, trade up a few spots. They have 105, so it doesn't take them much. I think, there's 103 picks. I think day 3 or round 3 ends at pick 103. It's a 2-spot jump. If the Giants want to get back into the back end of the 3rd round for somebody, they could take one of those 7s, move up a couple spots, and make another selection today. So it's going to be another very interesting NFL draft tonight here on Fireside Giants, and for the Giants, because, again, it's a very crucial number 65 overall pick. We'll see if they stick and pick, and we'll see what else they do today. But very exciting, and the Giants got to keep stacking talent, have to hit on these mid-round picks. Super excited. What a first-round draft haul. I love Abdul Carter. Super excited about the future potentially of Jackson Dart. I really do feel like, Alex, the Giants are finally starting to get it right. All of the things that we've been complaining about the last couple of off seasons, all of the things that I've been critical towards Joe Shane about, He's actually course corrected on them, and I will give him credit for that. I know that I've earned a little bit of a reputation of being a Joe Shane hater and being overly critical of him at times. Guys, we went 3-14 last season. I had one of the most pessimistic outlooks on last season. I didn't even see it getting that bad. He miscalculated. He made mistakes. Shane will be the first person to tell you that, and I will be the first person to tell you he's done a great freaking job this offseason. So I'm very excited, very happy, and really looking forward to 2026 and the future of the New York Giants. We finally have a plan at quarterback, and I can't tell you what that does for me. From a fan's perspective, feeling like we actually have a future for once, fantastic. Very happy, and also, man, I can't wait to watch this defensive line get after the quarterback. So very exciting times here as a New York Giants fan. We'll go ahead and wrap this thing up finally now. Alex, looking ahead to day 2, I just cannot wait for the rest of this draft and so ready to see what the future holds for this team. Guys, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Welcome Alex back in the comment section and tell him how much you missed him at last night's live stream, but also big W's for Bears Max for filling in. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And of course, comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, drop us a 5-star review. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Stay tuned to the channel. We're going to have Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter film breakdowns very soon and a whole lot more content reviewing this NFL draft class. We'll catch you all in the next one. Have a good one. And let's go New York Giants.